Would you please state your name in a full sentence?
My name is Tom Orr.
What positions did you hold during your time at the Bonner Center?
I was a case manager at the Bonner Center for 6 years.
What moment from your time as a case manager has stayed with you?
Well, I have many memories from that time, but a vivid memory is working with a young man who was discharged from Central State Hospital. It was a time when residential psychiatric facilities were downsizing across the state. This man was released onto the street and was living out of dumpsters when he came to the Bonner Center. And I spent a lot of time working with him to stabilize his living situation and help him qualify for disability payments. He was a very interesting young guy. He rode a bicycle. His name was Norman. He really captured all of us, I think, who worked in the center at that time. And I was pleased to have a long-term relationship with him until his death.
What moment from your time as a board president has stayed with you?
Well, those were transitional years for the center. It was shortly after John Bonner himself had passed away, and there was an interim director who stayed about 2 years, and then we had a vacancy, and we were in the process of hiring James Taylor to be our executive director, who was still there. So I would say that was a great hiring decision by our board. It was also a time when our local community development corporation was having extreme financial difficulties and going out of business. And they held a number of properties that housed people in our supported housing program. And we were very concerned about what would happen to those people if the bank foreclosed on those properties. And so the board made a very difficult but good decision to acquire a number of those properties and to protect those families from being put out. So I would say that was a significant time in our life as a board.
In what ways do you think the center impacted you during your time there?
Well, certainly it gave me wide exposure to the challenges of poverty, especially in the inner city where we worked. I think it gave me an appreciation for those challenges and for looking for better ways to address them. I became a workforce development guy. I came to the decision that helping people find stable, livable employment was really one good way to help people move out of poverty. So those were formative years for me as I clarified a direction for my career.
Can you tell me about the Debbie Orr Children and Youth Holiday Names Center?
The Debbie Orr Children and Youth Center was named for my late wife, Debbie, who died fairly young from a very serious illness. She was a youth worker on the east side at the time that I was working at the Bonner Center. In fact, her office was housed there as well. We had a number of organizations housed there. It was called the Near East Side Multi-Service Center because there were multiple organizations who worked out of that facility, including Debbie's. She worked for the Girl Scouts. She was a recruiter for the Girl Scouts. And from that, she went into teaching and taught in a number of schools on the east side. And so we both had deep connections to that neighborhood. And when she passed away and the Bonner Center was in the process of renovating and expanding, there was an opportunity to raise some funding to name a room in her memory. So we sponsored the funding for the Children and Youth Center, and it has remained so to this day.
How is the center different today than it was during your time?
Well, it's certainly bigger. When I was there, we were pretty small, pretty fledgling operation. All of the case managers worked in one large room we called the fishbowl, and there wasn't a lot of privacy. Dealing with people in crisis in a situation like that, looking back, probably we should have done it differently, but that's what we did. And we were as effective as we could be. I think, certainly the center has expanded its presence through the Chase Legacy Center on the tech campus. So I think it has an important footprint in the community and, has certainly earned a reputation as as the go-to for human services in that